Okay, I thought I would document one of the repairs I'm doing on my brand new Adrenaline. So, got a call from the dealership saying there was a problem with the water tank, fresh water, and I verified that it had happened to mine. So we're looking at the front of the tank here. About halfway down is the repair I've started, but as you can see, the water tank has 1 1/8 inch space between the front and this cross beam here. So, and there were 4 supports going across here. I've got 2 of them down while I'm doing these repairs. And then underneath, if I can get on my crawler here, if we go back past those supports, this is the rear axle, and back here is back of that water tank, and this angle iron that goes across welded to this support bracket, cross beam here. So this angle iron is what the rear of this tank sits on. So you can see here the back of the tank goes up and sits right on top of this. So the problem with that is that there's nothing down towards the front of the camper. There's nothing back there that actually keeps this tank from moving. So this is a 100-gallon tank, which means full of water, you're talking 800 pounds. So because of that gap up front, when your tank is full, if you touch your brakes, the tank goes sliding forward, and because it's got an 1.5 inch space up front, the back drops. And as you can see, the closest support is back there where my knees are at. That's the closest support. So you've got a good probably 2.5 feet where this tank actually fell on mine. It went forward enough to drop off that, and my tank was hanging down just above where the axle is. Just a brilliant design, Coachmen. So anyway, my repairs, what I'm doing, first off, I went and bought some real C-channel, not this cheap crap that they put in. I mean, this stuff, you can see the bend in it from where it had to support that tank. So I went and bought some real C-channel that's strong enough to hold this tank. And then I started doing these repairs. And basically what I've done is I've taken some more angle iron, and which is 1/8 inch. And then I took 1 inch square steel tube and welded that. I had my neighbor weld that onto this C-channel, or this angle iron, and which was just the right distance between the tank and this cross beam. And then I've got some self-tappers in. They're not really holding anything but this bracket, because the only weight that's going to be on this is this tank sliding forward into it, and that 1 inch steel is going to be strong enough to keep this tank from moving. So I'm doing this one here in the middle. It's a short one, and then I've got a couple that I'm going to do on either end when I'm done here. So you know, I got to move gas lines and everything. But so once I'm done, and then I'll replace a couple of these cross beams with some strong ones, and then this tank should be solid. like it should have been from the factory. So after 3 days of work on my brand new camper, I think I got everything with the water tank fixed. Hopefully it's the last major thing I have to work on with this. But so I've got my brackets put in to keep the tank from going forward. I've got 2 of these stouter C-channels put in, and you can see the bend in them is not nearly what's on these other ones. Plus, these are held on by actual grade 8 bolts instead of just some self-tappers screwed in. I mean, that's... Anyway, so those are not going to go anywhere. But I found that once I got the tank full of water, because the distance from this last supporting beam back to where the C channel or the angle iron is that the back of the tank rests on, that's like 27 inches, I believe. So when I got it filled up with water, this whole section just sagged, and I think that's part of the problem, is that the tank deforms because there's so much weight right here that what's resting on that lip of that angle iron, it just makes it easier for that to fall off. So I decided, I repurposed those 2 brackets that I took off, these cheap ones, and I made 4 more supports going across that are bolted on to this, and that's just basically to keep these moving so they don't have to be that heavy duty of bolts. But so they're attached there, and then they go back to where that angle iron is back here, and luckily they're on that support bracket that goes across. There's a section in there that I was able to put in some more grade 8 bolts, and so that's what's holding these. And you can see now I've got 100 gallons of water in this thing, and this thing's not sagging like it was, so that should work. Anyway, on to the next project, I guess. So